I've been using the iPhone 15 Pro, and I have to say this might be one of my favorite iPhones ever. I have a lot to say about this device. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Let's get into it. While this isn't a dramatic design change year like going from the iPhone 7 to the iPhone 10 was, there is still some design changes and some design elements that I really appreciate that got refined, especially when it comes to holding the phone. So there's no longer those sharp edges that we've had from the iPhone 12 to the iPhone 14 line. The edges are now rounded, but not to a point where you would really notice it. In fact, besides the color, if you put like an iPhone 14 Pro next to an iPhone 15 Pro, I don't know if you would really be able to tell the difference from the edges. Holding it is significantly lighter to its predecessor as well, and that's thanks to the titanium. It's noticeably lighter to me, and I really appreciate that. The one I have here is natural titanium, and natural titanium looks really nice, though personally I really like the blue titanium option. Now usually I go for the Pro Max over the Pro. I like the big screen, I like that extra battery life. I use my iPhone as a computer, I work from it when I'm out. I like that extra screen size. But the review unit I got was the Pro, so I've been living with it. And I have a few interesting takes that, if you're interested in going from the Pro Max to the Pro or vice versa, you might be interested in. Most people have the opposite of this problem. My hands are actually too big for the Pro. I am very used to typing on the Pro Max. I have big hands, really easy for me to type on that one. Even one-handed, I can type one-handed on the Pro Max. This one, the keyboard is significantly smaller, and I keep making a ton of mistakes. Now, luckily dictation did get approved in iOS 17, so I've just been relying on dictation a bunch, but I really don't want to be that guy out in public yelling at his phone. Battery life-wise, going from a Pro Max to a Pro is rough. I do not get through a full day regularly. Sometimes if I spend most of the day in here in my office and I'm working from my iPad, I can get through a full day. But if I'm like out running errands or doing something where I need my iPhone, there's a good chance I'm not going to get through a full day and will need to charge it up at some point. Luckily, I've put MagSafe pucks in my office so I can just plug it in right here. Just put chargers everywhere. The last thing that I really miss about the Pro Max, and it's going to sound obvious, the screen size. You can see more on the screen, more text, bigger images, bigger video, whatever else you might want, bigger games, whatever. It's just really nice having that bigger screen. The action button now replaces the mute switch on the iPhone 15 Pro line. I love this change. Now, if you're somebody that relies on the mute switch, you can use the action button to toggle on and off silent mode, and you could do it from your pocket. There's different haptic feedbacks. It works fine. Like you will get used to it very quickly. But I made a video about a shortcut I'm using with the action button. It's called Action Cut. And what the shortcut does is it adapts to the different contexts that my phone or I am in, using focus modes or the watch or all sorts of different things. And it gives me a menu list of shortcuts that I run in those contexts while ignoring shortcuts that I don't run when I'm typically in that context. I'll link to that video in the description below so you can check it out if you want. But there's a lot of other stuff you can do with the action button, including launch the camera app. And when you do use this, the action button becomes the shutter button, though the volume up and down buttons were already this, so I'm not entirely sure if this is extra useful. You can use this to record a voice memo. If you're somebody that takes notes using voice memos, I can see this being really handy. You can also toggle a focus mode or just regular do not disturb. You can turn on a flashlight, open magnifier. Like I also mentioned, you can just use this to toggle on and off silent mode. There's also now a silent mode option in Control Center, so you can just add that to Control Center. And if you have a 15 Pro line, there's now a shortcuts action for toggling silent as well. So you can use shortcuts as well to toggle silent mode on and off. This is just on the 15 Pro line because all of the other iPhones have a hardware switch, and it would get out of sync if you use that. You can also assign the action button to toggle accessibility features, or you can assign the action button to do nothing, but at that point you're really missing out. Just a quick aside, the menu that Apple designed for picking what the action button does is so over the top, and I love it. It is fantastic. Whoever designed it deserves a raise. One thing I'm hoping for in the future is the ability to assign multiple actions to the action button. So right now, in order to do something with the action button, you have to long press on it. That toggled my action cut shortcut. But what I would love is the ability to like double press it to do something else, triple click it to do another thing. That would be really useful to me to allow multiple features. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an amazing resource for you to learn or master a new ability. Skillshare has a wide variety of classes on graphic design, music production, marketing, productivity, freelance, and so much more. Skillshare even has career-focused classes like UI and UX design. So if you wanted to get started in a career of app development, this is a great place to start. There's even a course on iPhone photography, which everyone watching this video could easily benefit from. I just started watching MKBHD's course on how he creates his YouTube videos. The way he approaches starting a video is absolutely fascinating to me, and it's caused me to rethink some of my own processes. And I've been doing YouTube for 7 years now. Skillshare is a great place for anyone to learn something new, whether this is how to use an app like Notion or learning how to market yourself better. The first 500 people to use the link in the description below will get Skillshare's best offer ever, 30 days free and 40% off your first year of Skillshare. My thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. USB-C has come to the whole iPhone 15 line. Yes! Pro, regular, doesn't matter. They all charge with the USB-C port now. This has been a long time coming. Now, if we cast back a lot of years, when we switched from 30-pin to Lightning, there was a big uproar about that. People were upset because all their 30-pin accessories weren't working anymore. Hotels had just put in all those 30-pin alarm clocks. Fun fact, there is a hotel down the road from Apple Park, Apple's main headquarters, that has those 30-pin alarm clocks in all the rooms. I just find that hilarious. It did take quite a while for Apple to switch over to USB-C, and Apple actually contributed to the USB-C spec. Like, this wasn't something that they're just adopting that Google made or something like that. Like, they actually contributed to it. In fact, it was really the EU that kind of forced Apple's hands, and I'm just from conjecture. I know nothing. I don't have any facts, but I'm guessing Apple just didn't want to go through that whole transition again like we did from 30-pin to Lightning. That caused a lot of issues. The big difference now is USB-C is already a standard in many places, whereas Lightning was a completely new port. I can pretty much guarantee that everyone watching this video has a USB-C cable in their house already. But I would like everyone to say it with me. Thank you, European Union. Honestly, I think USB-C is the single most universal welcome change to the iPhone ever. It's a cable we all have. It's a universal port. This now means if your friends or your family needs to borrow a cable to charge their phone and they have an Android phone and you have an iPhone because you have taste and they don't have taste, they can charge their phone using a USB-C cable or vice versa. This also means USB devices work natively with no weird dongle, no need to power from a Lightning cable or anything like that. You can plug in things like external drives, monitors, hardware keyboards, hubs, Ethernet adapters, all sorts of different things. And all those people that have been complaining that they still want the headphone jack back, congratulations. Just get yourself a pair of USB-C headphones and you have the headphone jack back. Now, on the Pro line of iPhones, you are getting the 10 gigabit per second USB-C connection. Now, this can be an issue that I wanted to point out because not all USB-C cables are created equally. Same thing with USB-C ports. There is a 5 gigabit per second USB-C flavor. There's the 10 gigabit one, like that's in the iPhone Pro. Then there's Thunderbolt, which gets you 40. Then you can have USB-C cables, but they only deliver USB 2.0 speeds. So make sure the USB-C cables that you're using, especially if you're going to be transferring data over them, they're the 10 gigabit per second ones. I went ahead and gave away a bunch of my old USB-C cables that I just weren't sure about anymore. I bought a bunch, so now I know everything in my house is either Thunderbolt or 10 gigabit per second USB-C. Now, with USB-C on the iPhone, this actually means you can use your iPhone to charge other devices, even other iPhones if you wanted to as well. Now, what I could see me using this for is maybe topping up my AirPods. If I'm out, working out of the house or something, and oh no, my AirPods died. The case is dead. Oh no! I could plug a cable in, charge up my AirPods, and we'd be back to working. Obviously, that would take battery life away from your iPhone, so that's just something you have to balance out. A quick side note, removing lightning cables throughout my house was so satisfying. I only have one left because of the AirPods Max and the stupid magic trackpads. Please bring USB-C to those. And while you're bringing USB-C to the magic trackpads, please bring multi-device pairing. The chip in the Pro line of iPhones this year is the A17 Pro. Normally in reviews, this is the point where I would throw up a bunch of benchmarks and numbers that mean all sorts of different things. But I don't care. Honestly, I really don't. I care about real world use. I used the phone. I shot footage on it. I played games. I edited photos. At no point was it sluggish. It was incredibly fast. It's incredibly impressive. What I was able to throw at it is super interesting. I'm very excited and very curious to play some of these console games that Apple has mentioned that are coming to the iPhone later this year and some are coming next year. The iPhone 15 Pro got an interesting camera upgrade this year. Since RAW has come to the iPhone, I pretty much just shoot every photo on my iPhone in RAW. I use the full 48 megapixel sensor. And I do this for a couple of reasons. One, using that full 48 megapixel sensor gives you a really large image. It allows you to crop into any aspect ratio or any size that you want. I also edit my photos, and shooting in RAW gives you the most amount of control over that. I can bring up the shadows, I can bring down the highlights. If something's clipping, I can kind of bring that down a little bit. I can throw it in Lightroom and pull subjects out and edit the subjects while leaving the background the way it is, or reverse that even. So I took some photos here that I want to walk you through. So I went up to Yosemite and took some photos using the iPhone 15 Pro. Now this photo right here is when the sun is rising. This is from a spot called Tunnel View. It's one of my favorite spots on the planet to take photos. Absolutely love it. No matter what time of day you show up, it's always gorgeous. So this is a RAW photo with the iPhone 15 Pro. I'm going to show you an unedited version. That's this version right here. And then in a second, I'll show you the edited version of this photo, and I'll do that for all of the photos. But one thing I want to point out, so this is the RAW photo. This is the full 48 megapixel RAW photo. And it's very low light in this bottom area here because the sun is just starting to come up over the mountains. There's not a lot of light, shining on the valley in here. So where El Cap is, where Three Brothers is, this whole lower area is very soft and you don't see a lot of detail. Now, we'll go over to the edited version here, and I brought up the shadows just a little bit, but I didn't bring them up too much because, again, the detail in here is lost in the low light. What I mostly did to this photo was focused on the sky. I kind of shifted the hue a bit just to give it more of a feeling to it. Like I said, because this was very soft and very low light, there wasn't too much I could do with this. If this was my Canon R5 camera, I would have been able to recover these shadows and made this look fine. Now, this photo is very smoky. The day I went up there, they were doing control burns. Basically, so, when it comes summertime next year, Yosemite itself doesn't burn down. So the whole place was very smoky. I was planning on spending much more time up there and taking different photos at different times, but honestly, it was just unbearable. My throat was killing me. So most of the photos I took are early morning shots. So this photo, obviously, you can see the smoke, you can see the river. El Cap is right behind it with the sunlight just starting to hit the dawn wall. Really interesting photo. I really do like this photo. You have the tree in the foreground right here. You have the river right as kind of in the middle of the subject. And in the background, you have El Cap. I think it's a very interesting photo. And then this is my edit of it. I shifted the hue a little bit, made it slightly more green, brought out the oranges a bit, really laid into the fact that it's a smoky photo. Really just kind of gave it that early morning dewy vibe. If you didn't know that was, if you didn't know it was smoky, you might just think it was early morning, dewy, foggy, that kind of thing. But it definitely was smoke. Now, this photo right here, it's actually one of my favorite spots to take a photo in Yosemite. It's in the valley, and it's looking right onto Half Dome right here. There's this tree right here. Again, another really early morning photo. So the sun is just creeping up over the mountain ridge, hasn't hit the valley just yet. The clouds are doing some really interesting stuff. Just a really interesting looking photo, but very dark in the foreground where the valley is and stuff like that. So I lightened it up a bit here, definitely laid into the oranges. You can kind of see like the grass, the trees. They're very soft. They're not very detailed. They're kind of almost blurry because of how low of a light it was. Recovering shadows is definitely where the iPhone's RAW photos kind of start to fall down, is in here, but you can see the mountain is nice and sharp. The sun is coming up over it. I love the colors here. It looks really nice. Now, I want you to pay attention to this plant right down in here in the bottom right corner. Honestly, I don't know if it's a cotton plant or what kind of plant it is, but our next photo that I want to look at is a macro photography shot, and it's of that photo. And I honestly, I don't know if this is cotton or a weed or what. I have no idea. But you can see the different strands in it with the micro photography. Honestly, I just thought this was really cool. I really like it. Microphotography isn't new to the 15 Pro, but this plant was there. I took a photo and I thought it was really interesting. And this is my edit of it. I mostly left the plant alone. I mostly just shifted the background colors to be a more autumn feel. Now, the last photo set I want to take a look at for raw photography right here is another tunnel view shot. I took this on my way out of the park. You can see all the smoke coming up from the controlled burns. Most of the time that is fog, but this time it definitely wasn't. You can see Half Dome in the back, El Cap right there, Three Brothers with Bridal Falls right there. It's a really beautiful photo. The sun is just coming up over the ridge. You can see that in the top right corner. So the valley is nice and lit. Everything is really sharp. This is a really good photo. And this is what I was able to do with that photo. I'm really happy with it. I really like the way it turned out. Everything still stays super sharp. I shifted the colors a little bit, turned down the highlights when it came to the sky. So, you know, the sky isn't clipping as much. Really lovely photo. And the fact that the iPhone could do this, I really like that. Now, the big change to the iPhone's camera, the standard HEIF images. So if you're using like portrait mode or live photos, those are using the normal camera mode. This isn't the super large file size RAW format. This is the much smaller one. This now takes photos at 24 megapixels as opposed to 12. These are incredibly sharp and gorgeous images. If I wasn't editing photos, I would absolutely just take all of my photos in this format and be happy with that. Okay, so these photos right here use the 24 megapixel sensor on the camera. These are all shot with the 1x lens. None of these are edited at all. They are straight from the camera, and I'm just going to kind of walk through these here. This photo is another photo of tunnel view. The sun's come up a bit more than the very first photo I showed you, so things are bit more visible. You could see the valley, you could see Three Brothers, you could see Bridal Falls, El Cap, Half Dome, everything. I really love the colors of this photo and what it was able to capture. This photo I find to be really interesting. It's just a little river that's running through Yosemite Valley. The water was rushing. This isn't a long exposure shot or anything like this. I just got down, snapped the photo, and got back up. It definitely shows off the natural bokeh of the iPhone. If you look at the top part, it's very out of focus, but the lower center part is the subject, and it's very much in focus. You can tell it's water. It's rushing over the rocks. You can see the rocks underneath the water. I think it looks really nice. This spot right here is another river, and you can see El Cap, Three Brothers, Bridal Falls. It's a great spot in Yosemite. It's one of my favorite photos Ansel Adams ever took, is in this spot right here. I like this photo. Everything is really sharp. The sun's come up, lights up. You can see everything. You can see the details in the plants, the rocks in the river, the plant in the foreground, the mountains in the background. You can even see the waterfall. It's all really sharp. It's all really detailed. This is an absolutely great photo, if I do say so myself. Now, this photo is from the same location, but I wanted to show off the natural bokeh of the iPhone. The plant is obviously in focus. It is the foreground and the subject of this photo, and Three Brothers Mountain and Bridal Falls and the river is in the background, and it is all natural bokeh out, blurry. This is, what a normal camera does. This is not shot using portrait mode on the iPhone. This is naturally coming out of the iPhone, the natural bokeh of it, and I absolutely love this. I love that our phones in our pockets can take these kinds of images. And then this photo right here, again, another tunnel view shot. It's just such a great place to take photos, and it wasn't covered in smoke, so it was a favorite of mine in this trip. But yeah, you can see the mountains all really sharp. The trees are all really sharp. You can see the smoke coming up from the valley, Bridal Falls again. It just looks gorgeous. It's a great photo. I particularly love the sunlight lighting up the sky and just the colors you're seeing up there mixed with the clouds. It's really soft. When you get cloudy days like this, it really helps make the sunlight a lot softer so you don't get that harsh spots of light. It's a really nice, pleasing photo to look at. It's not edited, so, these are the colors. This is what it naturally looked like at this time. Another change is you can now change what the default focal length is for the 1x camera lens. You can choose between 24, 28, and 35. Now, what the lens is on the back of the iPhone is actually 24 millimeters. So there's the 24, 28, and 35 millimeter option. Those are all really standard focal lengths for photographers. They're considered wide focal lengths. So this one right here is 24 millimeters, nice wide view of tunnel view. Then we have 28, which is a bit more zoomed in here. So, it's a little more cropped in, but, still pretty comparable to 24, but just a bit more in. And now we have 35, which this is the biggest difference, obvious, because it's the more zoomed in option. And 35 millimeters here looks pretty good. Personally, I will just shoot all of my photos in the 24 millimeter option and then crop in if need be. Apple probably gave me the biggest surprise ever with this iPhone line, and the fact that we can shoot log video, specifically ProRes 10-bit log. This is incredibly high quality footage. This is the stuff that I'm shooting actually right now on my Canon R5. That is what I am shooting right here. And my R5 setup, I think it's around $7,000. That is like a seventh of this. So yeah, it's wild that this can do what that can do. What log is it's a flat profile. There's no color in it. And shooting log gives you the ability to color grade your footage, give it that mood that you want, that look that you want. And that is really important to people that are doing filmmaking. And this is why I'm kind of surprised Apple gave this to us, because I thought it would never happen because, what happens if a normal person stumbles into the settings and turns this on because they think it's will make their footage look better, and then they shoot their kid's second birthday party in log and there's literally no color to it. But they gave it to us, and I'm so happy they gave it to us because it makes filmmakers and people that want to become filmmakers, gives them the tools that they need to make professional looking video. When I was in film school, we didn't have iPhones. Well, actually, I take that back. The first iPhone had just came out, but the first iPhone didn't even shoot video. We were using big, bulky cameras that shot to tape. The idea now that I could shoot higher quality video with the phone in my pocket than the cameras I was using in film school is wild to me. I absolutely love the fact now that anyone with an iPhone can shoot high quality video and edit it, get it up to the internet, and have people watch their creations. I absolutely love that. This was absolutely not a thing when I was a kid, and it's just gonna unlock a whole new generation of artistic filmmakers, and I'm very excited about that. Now, as far as the ProRes 10-bit log stuff goes, you can shoot 24 and 30 frames per second directly to your iPhone. But there is a new 60 frames per second mode. Now, this has to shoot to an external drive. This is due to the file size of these clips. They are absolutely huge. I shot an 11-second clip, 11 seconds, and it was over a gig. It was just a smidge over a gig, but it was over a gig for an 11-second clip. That's why, Apple doesn't really want you shooting directly to your iPhone. So I have this 256 gig Samsung thumb drive here that I've just been using for testing and stuff like that. It works fine. What I'm really hoping to see is companies make like hard drive holders for iPhones so that you can like slot your hard drive in, start shooting directly to that. Maybe it even has like a physical shutter button, because shutter buttons, like Bluetooth shutter buttons, actually are a thing for iPhones, so you can start and stop. So you could have like a more ergonomic grip or something like that. That would be really cool to have. Now, why would you even want to shoot 60 frames per second, 10-bit log ProRes footage? Most of the time you wouldn't, but if you want those super smooth slow-mo shots, that's what you would use this for. You would use that to shoot at 60 frames per second. You throw it in your timeline, preferably a 24 frames per second timeline, because we're not monsters. You'd slow it down. That would be about 40%. And it would play that clip back at about a 40% speed, but it would be 24 frames per second, and it would just be super smooth. Let me know what you think about the iPhone 15 Pro line in the description below. My thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.